There. Did it work? Okay. Hello there. Welcome to the replay. Hey, friends and fans. It is Sam. Happy Friday to you all. I'm here with another writing discussion for today. And the topic I wanted to talk about today, I tried to find ways to word it in the event page and things like that, to word it into a simple little describe, I guess, without explaining it. Um, but what I labeled it as is when are you ready to publish? Versus, or I've also said like how done is done, or just kind of the question of editing versus writing, like or sorry, editing versus publishing. Like when are you ready to publish something? Like versus how long should you edit, or how many times should you edit before moving it forward? Versus when do you have to call it done and just move on? That's kind of the dilemma I'm having, and I'll talk more about why I chose that topic today. But first, I want to get you to put your thoughts in the chat if you have an opinion, or not just an opinion. If you're, if you're also if you're an author or have had experience in this area, or if you're an aspiring author and you have questions about this, post them in the chat in the comments there. Hopefully, I'll be able to acknowledge some of the comments or answer some of your questions. But I'm asking the question of when is it time to publish? When do you know that your manuscript is done or ready enough? Versus when do you keep editing to perfection versus just moving on. So that's kind of what I'm dealing with today. Um, there definitely are some benefits to making sure it's good and ready before you publish something. I have here as a reminder of that. This is my, I guess, kind of first draft of my novel, Fractured Heroes. I put out this version in 2012, and it's only like it was only print on demand. I just got it through a website. It's not officially published or anything. I mean, I can't really call myself a published author because I don't think this counts, but it's the first step, I guess. Um, but I put that out in 2012 after I read my first draft over two NaNoWriMos. You know what that is, National Novel Writing Month. And looking back at it now, this draft is kind of cringy to me. I may have done some minimal edits. I think I probably did, at least in my mind. I told myself I was doing enough of edits and it was ready. I mean, that was 8 years ago, 9 years ago, so I don't even remember how much I did. I wanted to I have a copy to give, I guess, to a few people who have read my draft and helped me with it. A couple of my friends out there might still have a copy. I don't even know how many copies I printed. It wasn't many. It was maybe five. I don't think it was more than 5 or 10. I mean, so it's not gonna, I guess, be widely out there if I become famous in the future that all these people are gonna have this old version. But looking at it now and just looking at my first draft, it kind of makes me cringe a little bit. Just I can see how much I've improved as a writer since then. As far as like conciseness and things like that, and just I mean many other issues that I've improved, and I'm sure I can talk about some of those later. But yeah, so I don't know if I mean I don't know if I necessarily regret putting it out, but it's just it's kind of weird. Like I don't know. I mean, I have this book. I don't know what to do with it now because it's not the version I'm planning to use in the future. I guess it's a nice keepsake, but like then you have to tell people, oh yeah, I put out a version, but oh, it's not the best. Like don't read it. So I don't know. More or less story. Maybe don't put out a rush version just after you've done two NaNoWriMos, because you might need more editing than that. But the reason I'm asking this question today because I mentioned, I think, my book one of Fractured Heroes has come along a good ways. I mean, I still think it needs a few more edits. Um, I'll tell you briefly the story of that. Um, Basically, I kind of picked it up again a few years ago and started reading it in my writers group. It was in person back then, or before we moved, before COVID. I read it in my writers group and began, getting some good feedback and implementing it into the comments and such. And I'm like, okay, well, now that I've implemented it into most of those sections, I think this is better than it was. I mean, still maybe not perfect. And I found a beta reader slash editor, and I wanted to give a shout out to that person. I will in a minute, but I'm in the middle of this story. Um, and basically has who's kind of looked at it and kind of said things like and like giving me more good advice and more like critiques, but it's made me realize, okay, there are still areas, maybe content areas, maybe character development areas where I'm still not quite ready to put this out yet. So I don't know. It's gone through 2 or 3 rounds of edits now in the past few years. At least, I mean, it's part of it has, or parts of it have. Sorry, I didn't turn off my email in the background. Yeah, I need to get better at doing these videos. So if you can hear the beeps in the background, sorry. Um, it's gone through a few rounds of edits in the past few years, and each time I think like I'm almost done or I'm almost there, all that stuff. But then someone else reviews it, and I'm like, okay, there's still some areas I need to deal with, and I'm looking at potentially another round of edits, incorporating feedback from my beta reader editor in a little while. So by the way, I said I'd named out that person. Her name is Rebecca Flovin, and I wanted to just shout out to her because she's given me a lot of good feedback on my novel, which isn't short at all. And if any of you are interested or need a beta reader or editor, I think she's kind of doing both. You can find her on Twitter at Rebecca Flovin. That is Rebecca with a K-A-H, and Flovin is F-L-O-V-I-N. So if you're in need of a good editor and beta reader who will give you some thorough feedback and really just helpful suggestions on your work, I'd recommend find her on Twitter, hit her up. But the reason I'm talking about this particular topic today is basically Rebecca. After reviewing my novel, actually she's reviewed most of it so far. I have not seen the last section yet because I was doing it kind of in chunks because it's so long. She found a publisher, probably a small publishing site, that said they were looking for superhero fiction, and she basically told me to go ahead or at least advise me to go ahead and submit my manuscript there. And I was like, it's tempting. It's a good idea. I definitely want to. And Corbin in the comments asked, who should we call if we want a bad or subpar beta reader or editor? I'll take that one. You can call me Corbin. No, I shouldn't say that. I'm a professional editor also, so I'm pretty good, I dare say. I don't know. I'll answer that question later. How about Ghostbusters? That's who you should call. Anyway, yeah. So Rebecca, my editor, told me, this company is taking superhero fiction, and she was like, I know you put a lot of work into this already, over the course of years, and it's kind of, I think she said it's time to talk to the big boys, as in time to move on from just editing back and forth all the time, and actually do something about it. And I'm like, yeah, I get that. At the same time, I'm still not quite happy with my manuscript where it is today. I'm thinking of making some revisions and things like that. Some potentially reordering of chapters, or at least cutting out some some scenes. I mean, I could talk a lot about things I need to do about it to be better at editing and make it more concise and streamlined. I mean, that's another hot topic. So my dilemma kind of has been, do I go ahead and submit to a publisher and get even knowing my draft as it currently stands isn't quite where I want it to be, or do I edit to perfection and just keep waiting, even though I've put a lot of work into this already. I've put now a few years of editing work into it. I'm looking at one or 2 more years of editing work. I don't know. Corbin says we edit until it's perfect, right? That's kind of what I've been told. So I'll give a couple of different perspectives. So I don't know the answer yet. I'll tell you, I started filling out the query letter and stuff that this publisher wanted. I did that before Christmas, but then we were traveling for Christmas and I got busy, and now I'm actually focusing on finishing my draft of book 2 and then editing. So I do want to at least submit a query letter and kind of get the conversation going, but I haven't yet because I've been doing other things. So maybe that makes me a lazy or a bad writer too. I don't know. A few perspectives from other people. I asked this question in my writers group because I have a pretty active writers group on Facebook, and the general consensus there mostly was you do want to edit pretty well and make sure it's in a pretty good shape before you submit. Some people said maybe you can kind of do both, like if they give you a turnaround time, because they're not going to respond to you the next day. It usually takes a few months for them to respond. If you submit your what you have now. Take a few months to edit as much as you can. That's kind of a nice compromise. But generally, the consensus I got from my group of fellow writers was you do want to edit pretty well until it's ready, until you're comfortable with it before you submit it to others. Because I guess if it did get published and you were happy with it as the author, only you can decide if that's worth it to you. If you want to sacrifice, I guess, internal integrity for publication and potentially money, only you can decide if that's worth it to you. I feel like I'd want to. I mean, I'm a perfectionist in my own editing work, for professionally and for others. I'm kind of a perfectionist. I would want it to be as good as it can. I feel like before it gets out there to someone. At the same time, I did get a second perspective from a friend of mine, and I'll name drop him too, because he is now a published author. This is my friend Eric Steidel, and he has, I think, one book published, maybe more than one. His website is Steidel Stories. It is STEIDL Stories.com. So go there. His book is called Eyal, the Arrow Boy. It looks like it's a biblical fiction narrative dealing with characters surrounding Prince Jonathan and King David and people like that, which sounds interesting to me. I've read some other fiction from that time period, and it's interesting stuff. If you're into the biblical narrative at all, I've not read Eric's book yet, but he is now published with a small company, and so I was asking him for some advice about some of these things in my own journey to publication, and he had a different perspective. Here's kind of what he said. I'll just read a small quote from him from a message. But he says, "I submitted my manuscript to my publishers before completely editing it. Most of the time, they only want the first couple of chapters up front anyhow. So maybe focus on really fine-tuning the first several chapters before submitting. By the time they get back to you, you'll have had plenty of time to revise the rest of it." So kind of a similar thing. He's suggesting, don't. If it's not perfect when you first submit it, you'll have a few months to get it together after that. This company that I looked into, I think they did say their turnaround time was about 4 months. So, in theory, I could do that. And they only wanted, in their submission letters, sometimes, or a lot of times, hopefully, their authors or publishers will tell you on their website what they're looking for in a queer letter. And they said they only want like the first 10 pages. I mean, a general synopsis, like overview of the book and things like that, like your elevator pitch, which is a whole other topic. But they only want you to send them the first 10 pages up front, and my book is pretty long, so I'm not going to send the whole draft right now. Anyway, but yeah, so I mean, I guess if I fine-tuned the first 10 pages or so, made sure those are really good, and then submitted it to a publisher, and then waited 4 months. Hopefully that'll give me some time to really, really work on the rest of it. That might be something I do in the next couple months. I'm leaning towards it. I'd like to do it. Just haven't yet, because it's a lot with working full time and having a newborn and still working on different commitments. So those are my thoughts. That's the dilemma I'm currently in. If you have thoughts, insights, reflections, questions, I'd love to hear them in the comments. So yeah, I don't have much more to say about that right now. I think I mentioned to some of you, or if you're on my email list, you've heard I am nearly finished with my draft of book 2. I am actually, there's like one chapter left to write, and I started on it last night. So it's the falling action, the resolution. I am nearly finished with the draft. I'm hoping to finish it in a few days, honestly. And then I'll be in editing world for a while, either on book 2 or more likely on book 1. I'm really going to try to focus after I finish book 2 on editing book 1 and getting it into a good shape where I can begin publishing it. I have ideas for book 3. I'm not sure I'll start writing it right away because I'm really going to be in editing world for a while. So this is kind of what we're looking at right now. If you're interested in these topics, this kind of discussion, and or in my story in particular, sign up for my mailing list. I believe there's a link in the in the event description here. Yeah, you can go to that link that starts with ship or something and has a bunch of numbers, and find my content there. Subscribe with your email address. You'll get weekly updates about these live videos and any other content I'm doing, and also access to Fractured Heroes and audio. Hope you enjoy that. Thank you for being here. Thank you for listening. Enjoy your Friday and keep writing or working or whatever it is you do and keep doing it well. Bye.